Greetings, friends, and congratulations. This is Ferdinand Roaño and Jose Miguel Crespi, as always, on the Financial Game Special Edition. Jose, this is already the very last episode of the year.
Officially the last one of the year. So lots of happiness to everyone who follows us. Even though it's the end of the year end closings are always interesting. It's always interesting to analyze the data to see how the markets, portfolios, and so on are behaving. This episode is focused on real estate to see what's coming up, what we're looking at for next year in real estate. We want you to share your expertise with us, give us your analysis of what you're seeing. I've analyzed recently a slight drop in mortgage rates over the last few days, these past weeks. They,
Would call it a trickle. A trickle?
as we would say in our country, just a trickle. But there they go. We're seeing 6.5. The
6.5. You can already see it's around 6.3, 6.25. If you go for 15 years, you can get down to 5.85. You can get 5.99 on an FHA loan if you have good credit. So, it has improved.
it has improved a little. Tell me a bit further about the following. I'm noticing banks creating new products, creating opportunities. We are trying to address the significant affordability problem, actively trying to extend a helping hand or a valuable opportunity, let's say, because banks, as we know, never truly lose, but rather trying to diligently create innovative new products and new methods to be able to acquire and finance property.
Definitely, banks have truly had to wake up and take notice in 2023, 2024, and even 2025 for the most significant part of their operations. If you look closely, and it's not just me personally saying this, these are comprehensive reports from highly reputable sources like Realtor.com and also House.com, Arikari. You're going to see instability, volatility, uncertainty, and there will be the affordability issue that we've been talking about for the last 2 years. That's an issue, and the banks have woken up. They've said, well, we have to find a way. In fact, there's even been talk of 50-year mortgages. President Trump, as you know, has a huge project here in Doral. He has to sell that project. We're talking about properties starting at 2 million. Generally speaking, you'll see that the market is trying to figure out how to turn renters into buyers and how to attract people who are waiting for, well, I don't want to sound negative, but I'm not very optimistic that mortgage interest rates are going to drop much, unfortunately. And I can explain to you why I think that. But I think it's going to be a neutral year in terms of rates, and it's going to be a year of supply. Just yesterday, we were indeed at a very important and influential conference where the truly famous and innovative lease to own program, which we have been diligently developing internally for quite some time, has now officially become something that can be fully institutionalized with robust and reliable financing that is eventually and securely backed by the Federal Housing Administration, FHA. It has a process with a much lower minimum credit score than the regular FHA, which is 580. It prepares that renter to buy and even to refinance if necessary, and it gives the buyer 100% of the appreciation in equity from the purchase. Also, instead of us, for example, we did it in our own way, as I like to say. Instead of giving them credit for the rent they pay, now we can, instead of giving credit for rent, consider a concession from the developer so they can buy up to 5 or 6% of the purchase price, which often ends up being as much as 75% of the rent they've paid credited at the end of the purchase. Plus, it has the closing charge cost, the subsidy has advantages, Taha. In general terms, even if you need assistance for the down payment, they give you assistance to buy. All of that is happening now.
Right now, no income verification products.
Very important. Very good point. It's not necessarily about the type of tax return. Now, you don't necessarily have to work with a tax return.
Of course, there are some parameters. We need to make a parenthesis to emphasize that point. We're not talking about 2007 style products
2008.
where, as they say out there, exactly, it still has its parameters, whichever way you look at it. But the point we're making is that alternatives are starting to appear that, as I mentioned, can lend a hand, can give people the opportunity to really achieve the dream of buying a home, a house. Yesterday, I didn't ask Ferdinand, but is there a bit more flexibility now in the debt to income ratio, or is it staying the same?
No, even that has changed. We do have flexibility in the debt to income. Yes, it can go up to 60%. Typically, FHA is between 45 and 55 or 50. You're reaching up to 60 debt to income.
To be able to accommodate if the mortgage loan, because of the rates, is going to, if it's going to take up a bit more of your income, well, give it some room so you can still try. I mean, that's the reality.
That's why I'm here now. And in fact, I encourage you, in general terms, we're going to have an event soon in Puerto Rico. I'm going to be working there for 21 days. And I'm going to be spreading the message that here at Penda, we're truly optimistic about the market. And we're optimistic for some very basic reasons. I believe we have a product that is affordable. We have a product that is luxury at an accessible price under $400,000. The types of houses, it's not just because we put effort into it, but honestly, if you look at that house in Miami and put it somewhere like Homestead, that house would easily cost you $500,000, $550,000, and we're selling it for $385,000, $400,000 or less. With terms where we are helping that buyer, making it easier for them right now with 100% FHA financing, our own contributions where we are financing and giving them 5% of the purchase price. We're contributing that to the purchase, and FHA requires 3.5%. So basically, a person can acquire that property with almost no money down, as long as they have a reasonable cash flow and qualify. And by the way, the credit standard, which was basically even with us as renters, our tenants are above 600, 580. It can even go down to 560 or.
So they're offering flexibility with the idea of giving a boost to keep the wheel smoothly and constantly turning. I like to explain it because several people have asked me for my analysis and my opinion about real estate, especially the residential side. If you go to the media, you listen to the media, you listen to the news.
Yes, there's a lot of information.
It's stagnant, the market is falling, the bubble is about to burst, etc. But you have to dissect that data. You have to dig deeper. For example, like you mentioned earlier, Farina.
What?
Ventas Homes, as a real estate developer, has a niche. They have a secret sauce. They found a market where the properties they build actually move. And it's about staying just a little below that average price sale right now in the market, and you'll be able to move it. It's about partnering with that bank that brings a different mortgage product that offers a lease to own through the bank, not through the developer. When you start putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, that's the reason they've been able to keep moving inventory, to keep it moving, right? Because we found that niche at Ventas Homes.
No, there's a part. For example, I was looking at the data yesterday. If you look at the listing price we have, listing means this is the price we can set in the market so that all the investors are satisfied, Pentas is satisfied, and the buyer can have access to good financing, and the house works out just as well or even better for you. Well, look, I'll tell you that the sweet spot is between 3.75 and 3.90 easily. It's incredible that yesterday we had up to $515,000 with 100% financing. I can still get someone up to $515,000 with 100% financing, but of course, at that level, you can't have a 580 credit score.
No, of course, I go back to the parameters.
You have to go a little higher to 675 or 660. You have to show a bit more. You need to be a little stronger financially, but the possibility does exist as long as you don't go into an extremely high market. The market is selling. The absorption numbers are very stable. Since March of this year, we've been steady between 6.3 and 6.1 in terms of absorption. It's a very balanced market. It will depend on supply and demand. There are 4.3 million homes needed for people to live in and buy as their new homes. They haven't been built yet, and it will take many years to build them. This morning, I was watching Lefrak, one of the moguls in New York. You'll see it. If you go to Manhattan, you'll see Lefrak Properties. Well, he was talking about one of the biggest issues there is It's the cost of construction. In the last 2 years, we've been hit by several things. Three factors: tariffs, labor, hurricanes, and other things as well.
But the great thing about being able to control the process as a developer, Ferdinand, is that real estate and single family homes give you the opportunity to control the process yourself.
Absolutely.
For example, as I mentioned earlier, Pentax Homes has its own marketing in house, its own contractor in house, and its own labor in house. When you control that process, you can control what the base cost of that property is and keep yourself within a healthy margin. That's the difference. That's the difference. That's not something everyone understands.
And that's part of what we're talking about right now. For example, right now we have some houses. We saw some appraisals that came in way below what the reality actually is. The reality is that sometimes these processes take a long time because of the banking situation. And now with Dora and Frank, who now separate the process for you, I can't call the appraiser. I can call the appraiser and ask, did you go to the house? Did you have any issues? Is there any doubt? That's something I do. This morning I was calling the appraiser. I didn't say to him, did you give me a fair price? No, you can't do that. That's illegal. But you can ask her, did you find everything all right? Yes, 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 everything's perfect, Mr. Rano. Okay. There are separations that didn't exist before. And that game, well, sometimes backfires on you, meaning the appraisal doesn't come out the way you expect. And if you don't do your homework, that's another thing. When you're a developer, you have what's called forced appreciation. And let's suppose those appraisals don't come out well, but you have a good product. You can, in a certain way, create the market and set the pricing. How? By doing owner financing, making a series of improvements to the property that other units don't have, differentiating the product, and being a developer allows you to do that and control the force of appreciation. We've talked about this in the webinars on multiple occasions in financial engineering.
Last but not least, next year, as you mentioned, they're looking, Ferdinand, at the residential real estate market. They're looking at a market that is going to float. It's going to survive. It should be more positive than 2025 if you look at it comparatively.
Yes, absolutely yes, but not yet at the level of some articles. There are some articles that say prices in many places in Florida are going to skyrocket and it's going to be amazing. Well, let's be realistic. If property taxes go down, which is currently on the table,
Moves.
there are some moves that we don't know what's going to happen with them. We don't know if the Fed is going to panic. Now, with this strong move from Trump coming, where he's going to put in another person who will follow policies of lowering interest rates, you have the person on your side who's in the housing area. There are a number of trends right now that are very hard to predict. My base case scenario, Jose, is very simple. Mortgage rates are going to stay between 5.85 and 6%. I'm on record. If they go lower than that, there's no doubt there will be a strong appreciation. Well,
we're not the ones saying it, folks. I wanted to mention that I told Farina. You see, I'll wrap up with this. I had a brief conversation just for a bit with the people from Blackstone, with the man, the biggest one.
The man, the biggest in the world. Trillions of dollars in modern
management, with two of his protege.
They probably know a little more than we do.
And indeed, I went straight to the question with them. I said, well, what are you looking at for next year? Which sectors do you like? How is Blackstone going to allocate its capital next year? And they didn't hesitate. They didn't waver, Ferdinand. Real estate, infrastructure, it goes somewhat hand in hand, but they separate them into their respective funds. And high quality private credit, we'll leave that for another episode so we can look at the different types of private credit, which is something really interesting. But private credit in the capital stack is in a very healthy place with good loan to values, real estate, and infrastructure. As for infrastructure, they say we're starting a new market cycle and a new game. Basically, if we use the baseball analogy that we like, we're in the early innings, not just in the United States, but globally. So it's not just us saying it, the folks at Blackstone are saying it too. So with that, we'll wrap up. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy, prosperous New Year.
I hope you enjoy it. 2025 has been full of blessings. Let's learn from the things that haven't been so positive, but that happen. Remember something. The things that happen to us that aren't always positive have a reason, and there's no such thing as coincidence. There is always causality.
That's it. See you next time and until 2026.